All right. If that red light is meant to be believed, and I think it is, then, well, why not to not believe it? But that means we are live. We're live again once you're on a Monday night, little 30 minutes later than we normally go live. But, honestly, we all know whose fault that is. By the way, my name is Harry Price, a.k.a. The Moving Target, here on a wonderful new episode of Low Key Wall. So Dear Leader decided once again to spin up an episode of his show before our show. So either A, he hates us and wants to really mess with us. That's what I think personally. He hates our show, hates us. B, he actually does love our show and wants to, how can I put it, like a bad TV producer wants to put his show to absorb our ratings. Okay, all right. Or C, he forgot about us and turns the light off in the basement once in a while and totally forgot that we're here. I have no idea which ones, but
once in a while.
That's true.
He forgets that we're doing it almost every week.
Every week he forgets everything. And if that noise, because I don't fly solo, we've got here with Vincent. Vincent, you go say hi.
Hello.
Since you just get the loud, I say the intro, and you're supposed to stay quiet on the mic until you're introduced.
I do what I want.
No. There's etiquette here. There's microphone etiquette. So
see, these rules weren't explained to me up front.
It's an unspoken rule. It's an unspoken rule.
I mean, there's also an unspoken rule to not let somebody take over your entire show for 45 minutes on Friday, but that happened too. So
I know, you just came in here, like Dealer just came in here and just like, oh, it's my show now. Let's watch what I'm gonna do, Anyway, so we also got here. We also joined here with Reinhold. Reinhold, you gonna say hi?
Hi, how are you doing tonight? I'm not sure what. I'm not. Just my mind's not in the right place. That's all it is. I've had a long day. Long day.
Yeah, me too, Randall. I had a very, very long day of doing things outside my comfort zone, and my company is really big on. It's like if I could tell them like, "Hey, this is outside my comfort zone," and I have never done this before. I'm not that confident on this, and as soon as I say something like that, like, cool, that's all you then. It's like, no, you have to learn how to do this thing. Figured it out, learn how to do it, get back when you get really stuck. And I was like, I'm stuck now. No, you're not. You haven't tried.
I totally get it, because at my job there's a trainer that's supposed to train these people, and there's 2 new people that's been started like last week.
Mm-hmm.
But they decided to let the trainer still work from home.
Yeah, that works.
So me, who haven't been there for a month yet,
mm-hmm.
is the person they're asking questions to, because I'm the closest person to them. So I'm just like I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing, and you're expecting me to tell them what the fuck they need to be doing?
Vincent Senpai, help us.
Basically, I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna do the best I can, and then
yeah.
And they go, here's all this stuff you guys to figure out, and it's like, you guys gonna explain what this stuff is? No.
Golden. Awesome.
Great. Yeah. I guess I'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah. Reinhold, what happened at your job? What was it?
It's just dealing with, PMs who are concerned about their project, and I'm on 8 other projects, and they're like, hey, we need to get this done right now. I'm like, well, who set that arbitrary deadline? Because the customer didn't. Was it you? So I get to fight with those people most all day long. Gotta get this done. I'm like, well, I'll get to it when I can. Leave me alone. Oh no, we'll talk to your boss. Okie dokie. Have fun.
Hey.
See how that works out for you.
Good luck. I'll be here working as fast as the thing is going to make me work on. So trust me, if I could move faster, I'd move faster.
If I was 30 years younger, maybe I could throw it in there and do it. But
do it throw a good 12 in, a couple 12s. See, like my company, like I'm willing to do like 12 or 10-hour days some day times because I have unlimited vacation time, and which is code to if a project asks you to, basically kill your, like basically do your 996, like work 12-hour days constantly to get something done. Once you're done, go ahead, take some time off. Go, take the time off, please. But also try not to do that. But if you need to do that, so like we're kind of doing that right now because we're just trying to do this. Because our we've got two people in the company who they have said like they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, they have nothing to do. So that week they're gonna like, if everyone's gonna be gone, we're shutting this whole thing down and redoing everything. And I was like, cool, long as hey, yeah, worst case scenario, you've got time to get this thing back up, and if you need me, I'll be available, but like try not to need me. Don't break it too bad. Yeah, so yeah, we're fresh off of our Friday show. I don't know if anyone got to watch all 6 hours. We did 6 hours on Friday, which for a show that we technically low key did the show. It's our show. We did that, but I think that show like it needs a separate name, so I've just been calling it Walnut Fridays because lack of a name for it. Which Walnuts is technically a backronym, not an acronym, but stands for Wheel Libertarians Network and Unity Team. So yeah, I enjoy that term anyway. So you guys don't. Anyway,
I think you made that up.
I did make it up. That's why it's a backronym. Yes, Ace. Thank you. Yeah, Ace was there for all 6 hours of the stream and had a blast. Had a blast.
I talked to one of our viewers. They were enjoying it until they passed out. And they woke up with their monitor just being our frozen faces on their screen.
Yeah. I would have to cause I was gonna raid a different channel, but everyone that I talked to was offline by the time he got done. I was like, I don't know anyone that's up this late. I have nobody. I have to actually go search for someone. I was gonna kick it up to a couple of the art streamers I knew, but they were done.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to do 4 hours, then we did 6. 6 and change. So, I mean, we also had the Remzo paranormal hour that also,
which was
that was fun,
man.
So.
Yeah. Which yes, thank you, Remzo. On the run with Remzo, he shared his paranormal podcast, in which we definitely going to have Remzo back on the show and do probably on a Monday night, probably see if we can get him for some paranormal stuff or another Friday night. That was a lot of fun. We also had Boss Hog show up, which was a huge blast. He was on location out there in the woods. So
I tried to make a improv joke right at the beginning of the show, and it fell flat on its face, as per usual.
Well, yeah,
I'm a professional.
It's part of your charm, Reinhold. It's part of your charm.
Sure.
All right, so today's episode is named. You want to say the name, Vincent?
Oh, the subtitle or the actual full name?
No, the name, not the description.
So it's a Goodbye Kids in the Wing. Yeah, because Harry's going to talk about Gundam Wing, and Reinhold's going to talk about Kids in the Hall, and I'm going to talk about Goodbye Mr. Despair, which is not in that order.
You're explaining that so that certain people who don't get the titles would be able to understand them, right?
Precisely.
Cool.
I need a soundboard, so I just go boom, F those people. F those people. No.
For those there on the Friday show, Spangle showed up and said that he didn't get our titles. He said other people did. He just thought their titles were weird.
Yeah, he hated our titles, hated our So you're gonna get a double dose, extra titles, and extra descriptions this time. You get more of it, more of the same. All right, so I'm gonna blab on for a while with Gundam Wing, and we'll fill time in. So usually, I pick which one of the guys are gonna go first. So I'll let you two pick which one of you two want to go first.
I say hand it over to Vincent. Let him go so I can sandwich in or something.
That's fair. So the anime I'm talking about is called Goodbye, Mr. Despair. For me, it was one of the first anime I ever found by myself. I found it when I was in high school. I was in a programming class, and my teacher was very cool about it being, once you finish the project, you're free to do whatever you were doing. So me and my friends would finish the project in the 2 of the 6 days it was due, and we spent the next 4 days either reading manga, watching anime, or playing games as a unit, because we were just a clique in that class. And I found this, and I immediately loved it because it's so weird, and you could definitely tell it came out in 2010 because it's a satire of the slice of life genre of anime, which is, people living their life, their everyday life. But it's also a surrealist comedy, a surrealist dark comedy.
Oh, so it's great for the season.
Oh, absolutely. Case in point, the very first scene of the entire episode is that you meet one of the main characters, who is this super positive satire of the stereotypical female lead in a slice of life anime, who's super positive, who goes by Kefka. And she's walking down this path with trees filled with cherry blossoms blooming in spring. And then she sees this man suspended from one of them. And her first response is to run up, grab him by the legs, and say, "No, you can't do that," and yank him down till the tree branch breaks. And then he gets up coughing and yells at her, asking him what was she trying to do, kill him. And then they end up having a discussion on, she believes that nobody can perish during the spring, because the spring is for life and nobody's allowed to die during that time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very dark and weird, because they end up talking about what that situation is, and she calls it getting taller. Is that they're trying to become taller, and she was talking about how her dad has tried to become taller multiple times, like after the company closed, and after they couldn't pay the bills, and after the mobster showed up. And it is that kind of humor that I was immediately drawn in, of like, where is this going? And I have no idea what is happening.
Getting taller.
Yeah.
I remember I grew up with Steve Martin. We would say we were getting small. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's probably a different thing, but
but because it plays on the tropes of the slice of life genre, it has a bunch of the distinct characteristics, especially of the time of some of the characters, like the class president, who is this well put together and knows everything and is basically the leader of the class. But that character isn't the student council president, but everybody thinks she is. And B, she's so psychotic about equality and following the rules that she has a mental breakdown when she has to try to split a strawberry shortcake that had 5 strawberries on it 7 ways. Because everybody had to have the same amount of cake and the same amount of strawberries. And to the point where she has a breakdown, throws it all in a blender and goes, "Here, that's the only way to split it up evenly." And everybody
not wrong.
Everybody kind of looks
yeah,
is all confused after she spins, because it starts off as the group just gets slowly bigger and bigger. And it was like, oh yeah, it was 4 people, and you would split it. Each person would get a strawberry and a strawberry and a quarter, and then she'd split it. And then somebody else came in, so they had to split what they already split further down to the point it was just slivers. And she's like, I can't math it. Blender, moving on. And there's the character that's super quiet and doesn't really speak. But the thing is she has a tie, and underneath the tie is her email address. So when the teacher texts her and goes, "All right, cool, I want to get to know you," she's actually an internet shit posting troll. who calls him like a worthless piece of shit, that he's a terrible teacher, and what is he even trying to do? It's like the whole premise that this cute, quiet girl who just tears everybody to shreds verbally, but through text message.
Oh wow. Okay. That's a oof. That's an awful take on Shining Finger.
Yeah.
Precursor of social media. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a bunch of weird characters like that, and a bunch of episodes that are absurd. But the main character is the guy that she pulled down, who is the teacher of this class, who is the titular Mr. Despair, who sees everything in a pessimistic light, no matter what it is. And to the point where he has a conversation with the school counselor, and he goes, "All right, my life is over because I scanned my ID that had also had my credit card in it on the turnstiles that let them go into the train." He's like, "Well, somebody's gonna steal my identity and ruin me, so I might as well just be done. But I'm gonna end myself because my life's over. They have all my information." She's like, "That's not how any of this works. That's not how that works." And he's like, "But it's obvious that they went above and beyond, and they're gonna get it. And once they get it, my life is done. Might as well just end it now." And eventually she talks him down. It's like, "Look, I don't care what mental breakdown you're having. I need you to go help this student." He's like, "I'll deal with that student later. I'd rather die first."
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that kind of absurdity. There's a point where he has a montage about how being richer makes you have a better life. So he experiences life being a wealthy billionaire to the point where he ends up feeling like his life is empty and tries to drown himself in Dom Perignon, but runs out of Dom Perignon before he can drown himself. So he just comes back to the class like nothing happened. And that's the whole crux of the show, where it's them doing the most absurd takes on everyday concepts in hilarious and really random ways. They end up having to do a school. They have to participate in the culture festival. So the teacher says, no, we have to participate to the level of the Japanese government. It means we have to give as little effort as possible. So they end up going through a montage of them giving less and less effort to present something to this cultural festival. Stand-up comedy. That joke's too funny. Cut it. Need to move something less effort. Somebody tells a fairy tale. He's too good at telling the fairy tale. Less effort. Cut it. Pass. And eventually it boils down to them just watching mitochondria split in a under a microscope, and that it's the most minimal thing we can do. Just watch that happen.
We could just sit here and just watch this one thing happen.
Yes, because everything else was too much effort.
Okay.
So I enjoy it. It's really absurd. There's some moments that are just out of left field, but they also make a lot of connections with the characters of like slice of life. The stereotypical, this character is the center of attention, but they're actually terrible at it, etc. So it's just one of those shows that if you're into absurdist comedy with a side of cultural dissection. So there's a whole episode where they're walking the streets, and the streets have signs for designated roads where people make excuses on why they can't do that stuff. So it's like, here's the film escape road, and it's like, well, why is your film better? It's like, well, it's an adaptation, and the source material would have been better. It's like, but why don't you just do the source material? It's like, well, the studios didn't want it, so it's the studio's fault, not mine. So I'm gonna go this way. There's a series of that kind of thing of like it's a failed cookie, a failed wife who who can't cook, but because she blames the recipe and the recipe's bad. It's not her who messed up the recipe. It was the recipe that was bad. Yeah, it's one of those series that is absurdist comedy that's also very dark and twisted, where you have your main character almost every episode attempts to take his own life. So,
and you picked this up in middle school, like was high school?
High school. Found it in high school. I was 16, so of course that's like the perfect time to find a series that is edgy as hell like that. Also doesn't help, like they have like a couple sequel series that have no connection to the first series at all, just all the same characters. So it's more absurd because, like, I know one of the series starts off with an alien invasion, and all the characters get possessed, and then the next episode it's not that at all. So yeah, I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite series because of the absurdist humor to it, and because I was one of the first things I found by myself randomly on the internet when like internet was still not as prevalent as it is now, especially not anime. Anime was never as prevalent as it is now.
Yeah,
especially 10 years ago at this point, 12 years ago. So yeah.
Well, that was the main reason to go to anime conventions, to pick up anime, bootlegs and stuff like that, trades. So, all right. And that was, what is it called? Goodbye,
Mr. Despair.
Goodbye, Mr. Despair.
The whole joke is that it was name written in kanji together says Mr. Despair.
So like, what?
So like his first name and his last name, when you put it vertically on top of each other, it says Mr. Despair. Oh, okay. And his whole family's like that. So his brother is like Dr. Death, who is actually a professional doctor, but nobody goes to him because his name is Dr. Death.
It's the name, Dr. Death. Why would you go to Dr. Death?
He's going to kill me. Why would I go to him?
A branding problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, small branding problem. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. And if someone wanted to watch this series and not sail the high seas, where would they go?
You probably have to buy the Blu-ray because they've recently released the Blu-ray.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So sail the seas.
Crunchyroll might have it, right?
Sail the high.
I don't know. It is 12 years old, and it was 12 years old. It is. You can't find it on YouTube because the main character and his whole premise.
Self-deletion.
Yeah, in a very specific way.
Yeah, most kids don't grow up watching your anime in a small box on YouTube,
right.
Cut up in 3 parts, and it shows.
Right. When you accidentally find it, and it's like, what is this? Why am I watching this?
But I watch it. But I watch I've watched series like that, man.
or when, so Reinhold, when anime was first coming over to America, it's nowhere near as prevalent as it is now. So people would upload it to YouTube, and usually in 3 parts because more than 10 minutes at a time would get them copyright struck. So there's a bunch of times where you would find the episode you want to watch, and you'll find part 2 and 3, but not part 1. And you have to scour the internet to try to find what you missed in that section, because classic YouTube before it became what it is now. Yeah. That's how you watched anime, because that nobody was interested in anime like that, like it is now.
Yeah. Or it'd be like a tiny box with like some graphic around it.
I saw
mirrored.
My first anime I was watching was early 90s, like 91, 92. So there was no YouTube. We were just getting
there was
VHS
a bunch of
tapes
bootlegs, there's a bunch of bootleg VHSs, and that was the Wild West of anime, because you never know what got translated over. Right. Like Kite should not have got translated over, and you know it.
There's no reason they should have let me rent Kite.
No, they should not.
That's a cartoon. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can watch the cartoon. Oh my god. Oof. Anyways,
It's so bad they had to sit that even when they dubbed it and they brought it over, the English version is the edited version because they cut out 15 minutes of it
oof,
because it was that bad.
oof, oof. All right. You ready to pass the? You got any more to say? You want to pass?
No, I mean I just enjoy the series, and everybody out there, if you're upset, if you like absurdist humor and very dark comedy, then there you go.
All right, Ryan Home. Floor's all yours.
So I wanted to talk about the Kiss movie, Creatures of the Night, or the park. So no, I'm just joking with you. I just saw that. I saw the documentary. They were talking about the whole mess that movie was. No, I was want to talk about Kids in the Hall. So the reason I want to talk about Kids in the Hall, why it's important to me, is that so when I was growing up, I watched some sketch comedy, right? I mean, I found in my early teens, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, I found Monty Python, right? And Saturday Night Live was a thing, just getting started. I saw the first seasons of those. So I was getting a good handle on what sketch comedy was from that, but that was boomer sketch comedy. So in the 90s, Kids in the Hall come out, and Kids in the Hall is Gen X, sketch comedy. It really speaks to a different mindset. Whereas the other, like Monty Python and all the other ones from England we used to watch, I liked the English humor a lot, Blackadder, etc.
Blackadder.
They were poking fun usually at large hierarchies, like the elites and the pompous people and the people who run the governments and things like that. Whereas what the Kids in Hall was really about was really speaking to the suburban lifestyle and how the suburban lifestyle drains you of anything individuality, and their parents who were not good to them. Right. If you watch, I'm sure people have probably seen a few episodes here and there, when they're taking shots at the parents of some of the in those scenes, they're doing their parents. They're making fun of the situation they grew up with. Right. So, so I think that's what really kind of drew me to Kids in the Hall, because immediately the first episode I saw, the first sketch I saw, I was just like, "Yep, this is something I'm going to really enjoy." And I just kept on it, and I devoured it for a long time, and then they broke up, which was an unfortunate situation. But it happens when you're with a group of people that long period of time. You start to get on each other's nerves, especially when you all have creativity that is it's slamming against each other. Mm-hmm. Bruce McCullough wanted to do more directing, and Dave Foley wanted to do more of this, and it was just everybody was kind of at each other for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then it all came to a head when they were trying to come up with they decided to end the show because they got started at the Rivoli, the place that they were at. It was two groups that came together and kind of just melded into each other, and ended up being the Kids in the Hall. Then they added Scott Thompson after the fact, right? So it was the four of them at first, and then they added Scott, and that was kind of the thing. And then they got really popular, and they got really popular to the point where Lorne Michaels saw them and said, "Hey, let's give you a show." Well, first he said, "Hey, let's take two of you and take you up to Saturday Night Live and make you writers for the show." And that didn't go well because they couldn't get any of their stuff on. They weren't letting them do any good stuff. Saturday Night Live was a little more boxed.
Boys Club. They have a club.
Boxed to then. It was like you had to kind of you couldn't go a little zany. And They wanted to be a little zany. So it didn't. They weren't happy. It didn't work out. They ended up coming back. During that time, I guess Dave Foley had done a movie that flopped, and so they were all like, "Let's get back together and do some stuff." Right. So they're doing more stuff, and then Lauren Michaels said, "Hey, look, why don't we just put you guys on as you?" And he put them through a whole tour where they had to kind of learn how to do comedy to Americans. I mean, it was harder to do. In his mind, he wanted it to be crisp and fresh and everything for the TV show, because TV show is different than doing it on the stage in an improv situation. You have to be a lot different. You have camera angles. You got to be tight. Comedy's got to be crisp and good. So they went through a huge boot camp, got to there where they could do that. They started making the show, and then they got picked up for like 22 episodes. And they're like, if it takes us 3 weeks to make an episode, there's not enough time in a year before you have to do the next, season. We have to have a next season out. So they're slamming hard. So they start working. They do season 1 was really good. Season 2, they got fired, but then they got picked back up again. Lauren Michaels made it work. And then they did season 3. And by season 4, they were all really just exhausted, fighting with each other about control of what was going on in the show. And to the point where in season 5, they just said they couldn't do it anymore. Their health was failing. They were mad at each other. So they decided to end it at the end of season 5. And they said that after they decided that, they started enjoying it again. It was like, oh, the stress is off. We don't have to worry about trying to come up with something next season. We just do our thing. Good to go. So show ends. They decide, well, what do you do? So they took like a year off, took some time off. But they said, Monty Python went out and they made movies. So let's go make a movie. So they got together and started putting together a movie, kind of trying to make the deal. The studio said, yes, we want it. We want it now. We want it rushed. We want it to go out while you're still hot. So they kind of started rushing the story, which was really not a bad story, but they were rushing it. And that was something that Dave Foley got upset about. And then during the middle of them writing that movie, he got the job offer for news radio. And it didn't set well with Kevin McDonald, who was basically his partner for the whole time they were doing that. It was them two that kind of got started. He took it really hard. He was also going through a divorce and having some issues in his life too. So they ended up getting really upset with each other, and to the point where Dave Foley says, "I'm not going to do the movie," And they said, "Well, the movie's probably not going to get picked up because it's not going to pass muster. They're probably just going to pay you for the movie and then it'll be shelved. But unless you agree to the contract that you'll make the movie, no one will get paid on it." So they said, okay. So he said, okay, he went in and signed the deal to get everybody paid. And then they decided to Lauren Michaels got the studio to make the movie. So Dave was mad. They did not want to do it. So the whole time they were making that movie, the other 4 wouldn't speak to him. They were all in the trailers right there next to each other, and he was on a trailer like 2 blocks away. It was this really tense situation, right? And then the movie came in. It had limited how much he was in the movie and stuff like it was all just a mess. The movie came out. The movie didn't do great. It was actually a funny movie, but I think that Dave Foley was right. It was rushed. And they weren't able to do some of the things they wanted to do because he wasn't going to be in the movie as much as he should have. So they ended up getting to a point where they just kind of said, "We're done. The kids all's over." And I was watching an interview earlier. Somebody said, "Did you think that was a betrayal?" They asked Dave Foley if they thought that the way they treated him was a betrayal, and he says, "Well, I don't think it was. It was." There's no way around it. But so they had some time apart, and then Kevin and Dave got kind of made up a little bit, and they were doing some shows with each other and doing stuff. And then Scott Thompson headed out to LA and ran into Kevin and Dave, got together. They all started talking, and then they decided that they wanted to kind of do something, but they didn't know what it was. So then they decided to go do a sketch comedy show. I think Montreal. They got asked if they could do that, and then so they put together a show, went up there and did it. It was hugely successful. They ended up saying, "We really like what we're doing," and said, "Okay, so let's see about doing this." So they started doing a tour, like a comeback tour in the early 2000s. And it was huge. I wanted to go to one so bad. I found out about it. I was just like, oh, this is going to be a limited thing. They're only going to do it for a little while. And turns out they just kept doing it. And they kept doing it. They did another one, and then another one. And then they decided we need to do something else besides just the tours. We want to, or because we're writing new material now, we're not just doing the old stuff. So they put together a show called Death Comes to Town, which is a miniseries that was on, I think, AMC. And it was a really good, that was a fun one to watch. I watched it. It was really good. What I found out though, is that during the taping of the series, Scott Thompson got cancer.
Oh.
And it was bad cancer. And he had to go through a lot of chemotherapy while they're making the movie. So he lost all his hair. So one of his characters in the show had no hair. So he could, and they were trying to, people were just worried about him, right? Because he would just break down and cry. He was upset. He thought that, the bullet that missed him when he was in high school. It's an old story about a school shooting that he was in, where he was like next to the school shooter and almost got shot himself. He felt like the bullet finally caught up to him. So there's a wonderful scene in the documentary that was just released where Bruce McCullough came in and Scott was like laying on the ground crying, and Bruce just went up to him, laid down behind him, held him, and said, "You're not going to die first." He's like, Dave's going to die before you because his wife will kill him, and Kevin will die because the anxiety will eat him away. It was just making fun of all the other guys, saying how they were going to go before he was, and but it was really beautiful scene where they talked about that. And apparently there's one scene at the end of the show where he's on stage and they're trying to reveal who the killer is, and Death is there, and he's in his full regalia, and he had an episode where he thought it was all real and it was really the devil, and he freaked out, and they had to calm him down and get him, take the day off. We'll get him all fixed up. But he got through it. He got a clean bill of health. He's doing great. So they made that. They said, we need to do some more stuff. So doing some more going around, but they wanted to get to do something new. So they came up with a idea to do season 6 of The Kids in the Hall a couple years ago. And Amazon was very happy that they were thinking about doing that and signed them up. And they recently just put out a nice series of new shows, and they were able to do it at their own pace. They didn't have a commitment for 22 episodes in a rushed period of time. They could make the show the way they wanted to make it. At this point, they've earned that, right? Mm-hmm. And it starts off great because the way the show ended on the 5th season is that they were being buried in a grave. Mm-hmm. By one of the writers, who was Paul Bellini, right? Paul Bellini, he's just in a towel. He was Scott Thompson's good friend, and he was one of the writers for the show. So he basically just puts the dirt over the top of him. Well, they started this new season 6, with him digging them back up, and they're in the same clothes that they were in the same spots they were in. And they look at each other like, what happened? You got old. Oh my God. And Dave Foley's like, am I still the Q one? That sort of thing. It's very funny. It was great because they were very self-aware. They were proving to people, you can still do comedy. It's not like, there's an interview that was done, and Dave Foley was being interviewed about, cancel culture and things like that. And he says, we were always, we were never against that sort of, we were never cancelable because we weren't doing anything that was like insulting of groups of people or whole things like that. We were very conscious of that. We didn't want to be like that. We pushed the envelope. We made a lot of jokes about things, but it was never, mean-spirited at a whole entire group of people, as it were. So he just thinks that a lot of people just don't know how to be funny without using the crutch of being insulting, right? And sidetrack, one of my favorite authors, who's a satirical author named Terry Pratchett, which we've talked about, He made the point that satire is making fun of power people in some sense of control or power. If you're satiring people who are already being mistreated by society, you're doing it wrong. That's not satire, right? That's just cruel and evil and being a bully. So there's a way to do comedy without going down that path. And I just think there's a lot of comedians today that don't get that, don't want to do it because it's easier to just be able to say what they want to say without having to make it actually funny and make it actually thoughtful and not caring who they insult when they do it. So they were never like that. They do make fun of, in the new series, they do make fun of cancel culture a little bit. Very funny little skit there, but it wasn't heavy-handed. It was just a little nod and a twink, at this. Oh, you can't do that now. I have to fire you. That sort of thing. So they had a Zoom session because everybody was doing Zoom at the time because it was the pandemic, right? So they had a work Zoom session that was so bad. It was I don't know how much I can go into, but basically it starts off with one guy being accused of masturbating while he's on the Zoom call. And it turns into everybody just like, everybody just go ahead and go. And everybody, it was, oh man. And they start the first episode. They do like a little intro sketch, then they do the thing, and then they go into this first kind of skit. And in that skit, they proved to people, they showed everybody, we're not messing around. Because Dave Foley and Kevin McDonald were playing robbers, and they robbed a bank. And they're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? They're gonna be looking for us." And he says, "But they're looking for people who are clothed. They're not looking for two naked people." So they decide to take our clothes off, and when the police catch them, and they realized at that point when they were writing that sketch that they were going to have to actually do this. They couldn't just, they were toying with, doing like the Austin Powers thing where you put something in front surreptitiously and stuff, move around. And they said, "No, we're not going to do that." So there's a scene where they get out of the car and they are full frontal, right? And beyond that, then the cops are like, "Okay, now jump up and down." So they have to jump up and down, stuff like it was so funny because you knew at that moment there's no kid gloves. They're going to do whatever they want to do. And if you don't like it, you might as well just stop now. And so the series was really good. They hit a lot of, they hit some old characters. They got some new stuff going on. So it was a nice mix, revisiting some they do revisit the, Crush Your Head guy, he has a name. I just don't remember it right now. Yeah, I'm crushing your head. Right. So they do a little thing with him. They have some other characters that were around, and then they got some new characters. There's one really funny one with Dave Foley, which I think is probably the best one, and it's what's called a runner, where it's like a little section of it, and then they come back after a skit. And they do another section, another revisit of it. So it's like a runner through the show, and it's called the Apocalyptic DJ. It is one of the funniest things. And it's not like what you would consider funny. It's just funny because of the way that it tells a story. And the guy because he's basically got one. It's in the apocalypse. He's got one record and he's got to play it over and over again. And he's like, "Really cool in the morning. He's doing his morning thing and his radio voice. And then as soon as the record starts, he just goes and looking around like, and then it's like, "Oh, time to stop. Hey, how's it going?" And he's making jokes about his kids being, we had twins. One of them was a mutant. Ate the arm of the first one, but good news is that they grew back. So we raised them as our own, but we keep one in a closet. I'll let you guess which one. Stuff like that. It's so well written and so funny. And he didn't think anybody would, because he did that. Dave Foley wrote that when he was doing a sketch for his wife's comedy show.
Mhm.
And so he decided, to offer it up for the series. And he said he didn't think anybody would get it. He thought it would be the stupid, that nobody would like it. And it's literally one of the funniest things that everybody talks about from that season. So check that out. I mean, the new season is out. If you got Amazon Prime, get it. It's great. Hopefully they've got enough support from that they'll make a season 2, or actually season 7. Sorry. Yeah. Season 7 of Kids in the Hall.
Mhm.
But it's really good because, like I said, they saw comedy a little bit different than what was going on at the time. And yeah, there's a lot of people since then that kind of use them as, you hear all the stories about the people who say that Kids in the Hall influenced them so much. Like Mr. Show did that, Whitey's Kids, Whitey's Kids, one of the funniest sketch comedies I've ever seen too. They were kind of the same way, but unfortunately he passed, Trevor Moore did. But yeah, it's just a lot of really good I don't want to say alternative comedy sketch shows, but I mean approaching it from a different way led to a lot of other things like that. So
right.
They're very influential in that way. If you talk to just about anybody, they'll say that Kids in the Hall influenced them in one way or another. Anybody who's doing sketch comedy now. So they've got a lot of love from everybody. So,
yeah. So, yeah, I realized the more you talked, I was trying to remember which one was which, because I knew of Wise Kids and Mr. Show and Kids in the Hall, and I was trying to figure out which one am I thinking about. When you said switching your head, it's like, oh, cool, I know exactly which one he's talking about. that and the salad sketch.
And it's the opening theme is just iconic. You hear the first bar of that opening scene and you're just like, oh, of that opening song. And it's Shadowy Men on a alien planet or something like that is the name of the band. They perform when they did the sketch, the first run, from the pilot on, that band was playing live at each show. They did the theme song. They would play the interstitials. They would warm up the crowd beforehand. So they were on every single show playing live. It was just awesome. So that was a whole bunch of stories, but I only have so much time, so I'm not going to get into too many of them. But that's why it influenced me. It was just the different look of the Gen X sensibility onto sketch comedy and kind of understanding where our minds were at.
All right. Okay. All right.
I realize it's a solid bridge where I did a dark comedy, Reinhold did a comedy, and Harry's going to do Gundam, which is just darkness in general.
Well, I'm doing a Gundam that's not so dark. It's
not as dark. It's not Zeta.
It's not Zeta. Oof. It's not Zeta. Okay. All right. So back into the tales of anime or media that shaped us or shaped some of our opinion. Gundam Wing is huge on my list. This is one of the, I want to say, like the cornerstone of a lot of my thought processes and beliefs actually comes from this small anime of Gundam Wing, this tiny little segment of the Gundam universe, this little alternative reality of the Gundams. It's Gundam Wing. So Gundam Wing tells the story of 5 Gundam pilots, just like every other mech. They get these amazing machines and they go to Earth fighting a war. Now, this war is between, when you originally finds out, there's two different factions. One, you've got the Space Noids, or the people in the colonies, and they are fighting to get their freedom from the over-oppressive Earth Federation forces, which is also backed up by a secret organization, which you later will find out is called Oz, and Oz is backed up, which you find out also later, by a secret oligarchy called Romefeller, which of old school kings and queens and dukes, all the oligarchs holding in the background, pulling all the strings. It's like I said, and it's influenced me because I always keep thinking well, who's influenced this person? Who's with that? A lot of that is because of the way Gundam Wing always gets to me. So the show starts off really simple, where each it's called originally it's called Operation Meteor. The idea is to send the Gundams to Earth and destroy and wreak havoc on Oz to help them to destabilize the military organization so the colonies can get free. Because right now there's nothing really fighting them. There's no way. They're basically just steamrolling everything. So they just need to put them down there for a second. So the show starts off. One of the Gundam pilots trying to get down gets intersected by one of the people that you will find later. Goes by the name of Zex Marquis, Lightning Count. He finds out and stops one of the pilots. His name would be you find out is Hiro Yui. So you got the 5 pilots: Hiro, Duo Maxwell, Trolla Barton, Katra Rababa Winner, and Wu Fei Chang. So good breakup of different Gundam pilots. Let's say I always feel like I'm rehash the whole first episode and everything, but what's this thing that always got me was the layers of the it really hit on Gundam Wing. Hit to me was a lot of the opera, the storytelling of Gundam. It's not just overpowered mechs shooting each other and killing each other. It's a lot of the philosophy that's in it, a lot of talking that's with it, that comes with it, that I appreciate. It has, I want to say some of the, I don't know, I always fall back to a lot of the themes and basically even some of the quotations from the special movie that I watch every year for Christmas, because it's a Christmas movie. The last one, it's a quote I say often, is history is much like an endless waltz. 3 beats of war, peace, and revolution will beat on forever. And it's a quote from the movie of this anime. So this anime keeps telling this tale of these two factions fighting back from each other. So Oz takes advantage of the Gundams coming to Earth and attacking the Earth Federation and the Oz troops as well. But Oz takes advantage of it and uses it to get rid of the people in the Earth Federation, and uses the Gundams to help get rid of the people who are trying to get peace and stop the occupation of the space people in the space colony of the Space Noids. But they use them. Basically, they trick them. So they get all the people who actually want peace and the people who are working towards peace to get them on they were at a military, they were tricked. The Gundam pilots were tricked to attacking this military base, but in reality, they were people were actually meeting there to talk peace with the space colonies, which they got tricked. We got onto an airplane, which has the Oz transponder signal. So they would think they were Oz special heads of state leaving, and the Gundam pilots destroy that, unbeknownst to them, destroying their best chance at getting talk through peace. Sucks. Then using that to pivot to keep moving on, because as propaganda, putting on to get the Gundams even to be discredited from the colonies they're fighting for. I know, right? It's that politically intrigue, the propaganda war, everything going back from it that really got to me, really spoke to me, especially because I found this anime when I was a teenager, so in high school. So it is, high school kids fighting against a world they barely understand what they are, and basically fighting against the world. It's that bit of pre 9/11 world where, I don't know, it's more of the idea of war, so distance, right? And then 9/11 actually happened while watching this series. So that's why when we did want to talk about it, I did want to talk about it when it did come to 9/11, because I was watching this series about war and the fights everywhere going on, and I think I found it at the right time and with the world events that helped shape me on how I move forward for it. Yes, did I get wrapped up into the Spangle, the jingoistness of the 9/11 of the terrorist acts? Heck yeah. No, you are not immune to propaganda. You're not immune to everything. Yes, I was whole gun for, but I think later on, when I started to get a little bit older, I watched more Gundam, and I was watching a lot of similarities from this older story talk about things that we're watching it had played on the news. it kind of like realized to me like there's a reason for these stories, is to tell these type of stories so that help you influence some of your opinion. So whatever, what is a good explanation like this? All right, so going through the story, eventually the two warring, basically the Earth gets controlled by old like Romefeller, and he actually gets a dictator ran by Trace Kushranada, and then the space colonies, they spread off into like a rogue organization, and they also get a dictator. The Lightning Counts ex Marquis, he eventually shows back up as their dictator lead, and the two militaries want to go face off at each other, which different than most other dictators fighting each other, because the dictators were on the front lines. Granted, the opera probably would never happen, with dictators sitting on the front line, but this, hey, it's an anime, it's opera, it happening. But it's one of the speeches that happened right that out there, and it's like it's themed through Trace Kushranada with the whole thing that if you make war with just robots no loss, then war just turns into a game. And if war is just a game, then God no longer lends his helping hand, and it becomes this uncursed. This becomes just basically this cursed thing, and becomes an embarrassment on history. And it really sunk into me, and I was like, yes, like these drone strikes. This is just embarrassment. It is a game. Drone strikes to me, I always viewed it like, then it is just a game. You're sitting with your Xbox gaming controller and you're sending people off to go bomb people. It's like, yeah, this is a game. They have no capabilities of fighting back to you. There is no risk to you. This is what's going on. And to me, that's why it really spoke to me. Pushed on to my, like anti-war sentiment on that way as too. The other one was also to respecting human life. And I'll get more into this when I go through Rurouni Kenshin, is the idea that basically like the value of a human life. War, if someone dies in battle, that or just dies period, like it's a huge cost. And it shouldn't be something dismayed or just could be done by a push of a single button miles away for someone you never saw or met. Man, it is, like I said, like going through and just trying to get to all the high points of the show. I think all right, so one big thing. Okay, so my political journey to getting even where I was, at one point in time, yeah, I was a card-carrying member of the Republican Party. Frederick Douglass Republican, but a member of the Republican Party. Heck, I enjoyed it at a time. I was, like I said, wrapped up in all of it, up into a point when, like I said, going through Gundam and letting more of it sink in, more people in the Seas of Liberty just fall into me, that I did end up quitting the Republican Party. And how I quit, I actually used a speech and like picked up things from Gundam Wing. But let me ooh, that hurt. That burp hurt. It is the "I want to be a loser" speech. So this speech came to be from the Trez Kushranada working with Romefeller, sees a lot of the suffering, a lot of everything that is going on in the world, right? And seeing the way that Romefeller is making their plans, that he is trying to stop them from doing the going with the mobile, which they, instead of drones, they were called mobile dolls. Let's not do this mobile dolls. We are going to go into we need to, use more human stuff. We need to get people to going this way. And Romefeller didn't want to do that. This is not what Romefeller wanted. So it basically put them at odds with each other. So that's when the "I wanted to be a loser" speech comes at the head, because Trez wants to quit and be basically with the losers. Well, I thought I had it here in my bookmark list, but apparently I did not. I thought I had it here.
Well, you look that up. I will say that I was way younger than you when I watched it because I watched it on Toonami, and I thought, oh man, that black mech with the scythe that has two green heads on his side, that one's pretty cool.
How dare
I
you.
didn't get all this political intrigue. I got these are cool robots fighting each other because I'm 8. Because I'm 8.
All right, first off. Okay, is there some of that stuff in there? Yeah, but you have to also understand, like, it is it's that,
It's layers. That's the point. That's what I said. The reason I'm not doing Cowboy Bebop for this is because as a show by itself, I watched it when I was too young. I was like 8 or 9 and didn't really understand all of the other stuff. I was more interested on look at that cool ship or look at that awesome fight scene.
Yeah, which Gundam does have a lot of
Exactly.
cool fight scenes into it, and you get like different things like, and then you get to see different like characters like morph and flip. It's like, so even in the series, like you had Wu Fei Chang, who was basically just a misogynist in the starting out the series. He's like, he actually, one of the famous quotes is, "I don't kill bleeding hearts or women." Okay, and it was just like, whoa, wow. Let's see. So A said the perfect grade Wing Zero gunpla looks absolutely stunning. Yes, yeah, the Wing Gundam. Yeah, oh, the Zero. Yes, Wing Zero is an amazing piece of kit. That's why I said, like, I can't wait for them to basically put Wing Zero in the Gundam Evolution game, because I will say in the Dynasty Warriors game, when I play Wing Zero, I gotta put it down. I destroy everything. It's one of those things I do. I enjoy it. I can sit there with Wing Zero, because you can take the 2 beam cannons, sit into it, and spin, which he does in the series.
Yep.
So you just kind of I just destroy everything around me. Is everything dead yet? Yes.
Right.
Cool. Good. Good. I
You got
want
the
to.
speech? You got the speech?
I thought I bookmarked it, but it's on none of my book. I wonder if I actually downloaded it on my big laptop, on my big desktop, and I never brought it back up.
Probably.
Yeah, like a, and it's, it's like every time you bring up anything Gundam, it gets erased from because Japan hates copyright.
Oh, it hates copyright so much.
Yeah. Just can't have my copyrights out there.
You might just have to read it.
I know. Which sucks. I don't want to. I don't even want to do that. It's but I think I might have to.
You got this.
Because I thought I had it here, which, All right. Well, that sucks. All right. This is what we do. So, gonna have to read it. It sucks. Anyway, so transcription is sort of now it's sitting in front of the Roman Federation. It's basically just this speech. Of course, like I should have just brought up the one from when I quit the Republican Party. But anyway, so it goes, and I basically Duke de Mail, I'm sorry, but I cannot support the Roman Foundation and the path it is taking. So basically, like he just said it, like, these things that you're doing, I don't agree with. Like, yes, I was all for this fighting. I'm for fighting and conquering and ruling these people, but not like this. Not like taking mobile dolls, basically robots, and going to killing people. And Duke de Mail is put back by it. Actually, he literally pulls out a gun, on this guy, because then he said this to him. And it basically ends with the speech, which is tradition is history. It is a history of caring built by deep, true feelings of people. I do think that fighting in battles can indeed, at times, be beautiful, but at the same time, I like to express my regret over the lost souls by appealing to you to recognize how priceless man's life is. I believe what mankind needs is not absolute victory, but a certain demeanor in fighting, an attitude towards fighting. I fear that the era of the soulless weapons called mobile dolls, in other words, the era that the Roman Foundation is creating, may become an embarrassment to the people of the future. I used to think that the ideals of the people in the space colonies, such as their highly praised pacifism, were just pitiful complaints born in and out of their own ignorance of tradition. New warriors were born that surpassed even my ideals. The Gundam pilots. Tradition appears blurred alongside their true feelings. From a historical point of view, warriors who have lost what they were protecting and were further betrayed by those they were protecting are losers, but they do not recognize themselves as such. Not only that, but they retain a strong will to keep fighting. The emotions of those who thought beautiful are always full of sorrow, and our honored tradition disappears in the cry of the weak. Winners of a battle, we eventually decline in power and become losers, and those losers will cultivate a new leader. I want to be a loser. Like I said, that brings a lot to me because like I said, this should be saying like I don't want to be a Republican anymore. I'm done being a Republican. I'm you know what? I'm gonna go hang out with the libertarians. Sorry I can't be with you anymore, you know. But like it's that thing that like most even libertarians can even understand. It's like you were being betrayed by the people you are trying to protect. It's one of those things. Like it's and even in this thing they go to the speech, the saying that like in after all these fights, how do I can retain who I am? I was like, I keep taking losing battles. I take losing battles. It's the only way I can retain and be who I am. I'm going to keep fighting because that's the only thing I can do. You know, I'm going to keep going forward. And yeah, that's the, it's from, like I said, like I'll be like, what has made you like where you are? It's like, I pull a lot from Gundam. Like it's, like it was like, oh, well, it's just a goofy like anime. Like, yeah, but it's got the philosophy and the speeches. It just speaks to me and it makes me like really give like a good retrospect of what's going on. Like this is one like Catra's death piece. Catra, it doesn't matter how it happened, but the colonies have teamed up with us, and we have to keep in mind that does not mark the end of a war. At the same time, it means that our missions have come to an end. From our point of view, it's disappointing that the colonies we've been fighting for have changed their perspective. That's what happens with wars. We have no choice but to accept it. The only question left is what happens when the remaining soldiers, what happens within our hearts. With us Gundam pilots, we were completely trained to be soldiers before we ever realized it. When you put everything into a battle, you start thinking you can change the times all by yourself, don't you? But Catra, you're not the only one who feels that way. We all do. Be the kinder when you are. Be the bigger toll it takes on you. So yeah, it's we have to fight ourselves in our hearts, and we have to do it harshly in order to do the right to come to the right conclusions, even if it means our battles today are meaningless. We have to acknowledge the facts that the five of us has become nothing more than redundant soldiers. So now let's accept it. Turn back into the nice guy I once knew. I just hope that something triggers your mind and calms you down. Yeah. So basically, like it's this part of the speech where the Gundam pilots are completely betrayed. Catra's dad just died after basically the colonies betrayed them, just turned their backs, gave them everything. So he basically has nothing now. Like his fortune, everything has been gone, taken by these people. And Troa is it's getting ready to die, and it's just like they're all just trying to survive in this world right now that has just been which they thought they had an outcome, and just they end up turning on it. Everyone kept turning on each other. It's do I say it's must watch Gundam? No, it has its flaws. Some of the animation is poor, some of the pacing is poor, the voice acting, some of it is poor. It shows its age, but some of the speeches are left alone, which only have the impact hit if you watch it and understand what's going on. And I recommend people giving it a good watch, especially the movie Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. The Endless Waltz course I get from, because if you watch people deal with having a year worth of peace, and then some people just trying to pull them back into war. What happens there? And not to be fooled by idols and propaganda and what to do with these old warriors. It is, I don't know. It's, to me, it is comes from this part of Gundam, which it really inspired me to watch more of the series, more of the universe, more of the genre of Gundam. I already liked mech before Gundam Wing, but Gundam Wing was my first foray into the Gundam genre. Like, okay, this is Gundam. I'm finally watched Gundam. What else does Gundam have? Right? And that's when I got into Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta, G Gundam.
Hey, Harry.
What's up?
Are you saying that Gundam Wing was your Gundam seed?
I'm not saying that. Not at all.
There's a series called Gundam Seed. That's why it's hilarious. Because
It doesn't exist.
It grew into a tree of Gundam.
That didn't exist.
There's a reason we had to talk you down to 6 instead of 9 on your 3x3 for Gundam.
But I like it. It is an interesting series. Like I said, like this is where like a lot of my feelings, my beliefs of like people of life and war, all of it comes from the trunk of watching this series. Because it's, I don't know, it's got a nice little anti-war message, even though it is about war. But Gundam also always has never been trying to shy away from the horrors of what war is, which Vincent's trying to warn all the new fans of The Witch from Mercury.
Yeah, there's a current series coming out that there for every happy ending in Gundam, there is a Gundam Zeta or Iron-Blooded Orphans, which is about child soldiers. The usual things.
Yep.
So people who get happy about this, I'm just like, hold. Comment.
Yeah. I think I'll end my thing with this last little piece quote from Gundam is, so why do people fight anyways? Perhaps the meaning of human existence lies within their will to fight. People feel a sense of accomplishment through battle, and it's also a fact that the ones actually fighting are never perceived as being tainted. So yeah. That's my thing on Gundam Wing.
What are your thoughts on that, Reinhold? You're muted.
Still muted.
I was trying not to be rude. The thing that kind of got me when you were talking, you said something about the cost of battle being so high, the cost of war being so high. It struck me because it reminded me of some media somewhere, and I'm trying to remember. I've been racking my brain the whole time trying to figure out where it came from, trying to point it to something. But it's basically the two societies were warring with each other, and instead of actually doing the fighting, they just had a computer run the simulations and pick the people who got killed, and then they'd have to go and report in and be exterminated in order for the war to continue. And I can't remember if this was a movie, a book, a TV series. I'm leaning towards a Star Trek episode maybe, but I don't think so. And I cannot for the life of me remember what story that is.
My brain really wants to say Ender's Game because it's that kind of
does sound like Ender's Game.
That kind of brain concept of people are so detached from war that they see it as a game, but that's more.
They were fighting though. Yeah, they were actually fighting. They knew that they were just running a simulation in a computer to pick the people who died if there had been a battle, but they don't have to actually have the battle because then you don't destroy all the buildings, you don't destroy random things, you just do it through that. And I think that was that kind of stuck with me when I remember reading that, and that's when you said that, it kind of threw me back into that mindset. Kind of the same kind of thing where the cost of war is so high, and they were trying to deal with it this way instead of avoiding it altogether. And
Right.
It's going to drive me nuts until I figure it out.
You're gonna figure it out tomorrow at some point and go, "Oh, this is what it is, guys."
Holy crap! Also,
No.
but yeah, that was kind of what I was going through when you were talking. So, about Gundam.
Yeah, the fact that
It made you a libertarian. That's good. That's good.
when you
Then
realize
that made him an anarchist. So
yeah. When you realize that you want to separate the human cost from robots, then you don't care what happens to the other on the other side of the gun.
Right. And it's also not Gundam's first foray into that.
Oh.
I think they did it really gruesome in which you don't even see it. You're not even ready for it in Gundam 00, where oh man, Gundam 00, they let one of these things loose. It was like it wasn't even like a drone flying overhead. It was like a robot that had guns, and it literally walked around and was just shooting people. And then they had some crazed person on the Gundam just bomb a wedding. They just bombed a wedding because they were jealous that they were sitting here in this war and they could see them having fun at a wedding. Because screw them and yeah. Hey, she got hers though. she got hers and she deserved it. But still, it was like wow.
Yeah, it's definitely always interesting to hear the starting point for people. Gundam was your starting point. Gundam Wing was your real starting point of getting invested in Gundam as a genre.
Yeah, Gundam as a genre, or even really cemented my went from a passive anime watcher to I like anime.
Active, yeah. It's like, yes, this is what I like. I'm going to enjoy this.
It wasn't my first anime by no means, because I've watched My Neighbor Totoro when I was a kid. I Ronin Warriors, so, but
fighting Foodons.
Yeah, fighting Foodons. But really getting into it, like I said, yes, and when Christmas season comes along, I will annoy my wife by let's watch a Christmas movie, and I will put in Gundam Wing. I just
what you doing the double header of Gundam Wing and Die Hard?
No, we actually don't watch we just watch Gundam Wing. Yeah,
just on loop. It's on loop.
This is a Gundam Wing house. We don't do the Die Hard. Okay, we just watch the Gundam Wing. So sorry. I do embrace Die Hard as a movie. I enjoy watching Die Hard, but I don't have it on DVD or VHS or on MP4. So, but I do have that.
Are you talking about an anime called Die Hard, or are you talking about the Bruce Willis?
The Bruce Willis, the one that people thought was a Christmas movie.
There's a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie?
That's the joke.
Oh, okay.
That would have been interesting.
I watched that.
So, Harry, what are you going to talk about next time we do this?
I don't know. I really haven't thought about that yet. Honestly, if I'm honest, I did not think what my next one was going to be. I've not. I know I should have, but I didn't. Man, I do kind of want to go to Ramona Kitchen because it just kind of gets into the whole when I try to tell people these are the animes that maybe think about people's life, more than casually just completely toss it off. But I kind of wanted to do those 2 Gundams, then something else, and 2 Gundams, and do something else. So we'll have to go back into Gundam. Ooh, I still got war in my pocket, don't I? Oh God, that is so sad.
Yes, you do. You do have war in your pocket.
Man, why did I pick such sad ones?
I mean, you culled your list down to 6. Not my fault.
Who picked these? Yeah, who picked these?
I forced you to put Ghost in the Shell on the list because you were fighting tooth and nail not to.
Man, you know what? All right. So let's jump back into the Universal Century and let's jump back to technically, if I do this in the timeline correct, it'd be War in my pocket.
I guess.
Double O War in My Pocket. Also Gun War in My Pocket. Maybe the next one. So this one is pretty cool. So I need to go on this one right now. So this one is
Is that War in Your Pockets? That's the one you're doing? Yeah.
This is dark. This is like I remember when I watched this one, and like the idea of them, we won't get into it now, them zooming in on the cockpit after a fight, and it just got bullet holes and blood in the seat. It was like, oh my god, oh my god, this they ain't playing now. They're like, no, listen, war isn't a game. People fucking die in gruesome ways.
You don't want to lead them too far on.
Yeah.
Reinhold, what are you gonna do?
I'm looking at the 3x3s, and the way I've done them already, I've almost made a cross out of the middle ones. So I'm just gonna fill the cross out and do Stranger Than Fiction, and then I'll get to the corners after that.
Okay, all right.
Great.
I did have one thing I want to say
Okay.
before I go too far. And we need to go too
Your
far.
audio's trying to chat.
I forgot to tell you how the kids in the hall got their name.
Oh, okay.
Where it comes from. Do you guys have
do you
know
want
that
to see
story?
your audio? Do you want to see your audio, Chappie?
Yeah, your audio is
audio is-
on the delay again.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I figured, you'd want it to know, other than listening back and like, they didn't tell me.
All right. Any better now? Not at all.
For a second, then no.
Yeah, then no.
Yeah, then no. Well, I go to. That's not.
Okay. We'll put a pin in it, and we'll let you say it at the beginning of the next time we do this.
All right, so you're just gonna do it next time, or are you?
So I will say that I know it's what I'm going to do next.
Okay.
When I post the 3x3s, I've had one on there for a while, and then I changed it out because I realized I don't have much to say about it. So, like, originally on 3x3, I had Ranma 1/2, and then I realized I don't even remember 99% of it.
Boo.
And the only thing I have to say about it was like the first manga I read, and I got it from the person that was that ended up being my first girlfriend ever, but that's about all I got. So I decided to replace it. And I'm going to talk about what I replaced it with, which is the title of the series, Rascal Doesn't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to talk about next. Rascal Doesn't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Okay, that's fine. So we know what we're going to talk about now. Man, I can't wait. I can almost talk about Initial D.
You ready to be sad?
Let's get to Christmas.
Oh my god, that's that sounds miserable. The Christmas episode. Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, let's get to Christmas. That'll be fine. Trust me, it'll be fine.
I hate you.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
What day does Christmas fall on this year?
I want to say it's Sunday, right?
Yes, Sunday.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know, I've seen so many of them. I really don't know anymore.
It's a Sunday.
Meld together on me.
Yeah, which most people get the Monday off because that's when it's observed. So
my job's 24/7.
Some of us get 2 weeks off, so it doesn't matter.
My job's 24/7, 365, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, I kind of miss working at Cisco because they just shut down. I miss that.
A lot of factories do that. They shut down for 2 weeks at Christmas because of unions and stuff, so it just makes it easier.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't because if we do, people might just die. So
Yeah. All right. Well, if you've been listening this long in the episode, thank you. You're a true fan. Like you, Race, true fan. Watching all the shows. Thank you. All right. I wanted to do. This is getting long now. What's the time? Oh God, it's almost 11 o'clock. I did wanted to talk about like when we're going to do the big Walnut show again, but we'll probably do that next Monday then.
You mean
I really want to do
about it next Monday?
Huh?
Yeah, we'll talk. We're not going to do
about it next Monday.
We're
I was saying we got to do 4 hours next Monday.
No. Next Monday we'll talk about and try to schedule for the next
Okay.
one we do. Which I'm
Okay.
thinking Black Friday personally. I will put that out there in the ether. Thinking Black Friday, So, anyways,
I have no problem with that myself.
I mean,
I don't know how many people will be able to get for it, but
you know me. My life is
I mean,
very
I
straightforward.
I have no life, and but other people might
it'll be Friday night. Most people,
Renzo and Hody.
sitting around drinking
with family. I mean, I want to jump off for an hour.
Yeah, and get away from family
So.
and drink. Okay, all right. And if I can get Spangle over to the studio to finish setting it up, we can use the studio too. But
Which is fair.
That'll be harder.
Yeah,
everybody there.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
What's up?
Goodbye.